Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum, the refreshing, delicious treat that gives you chewing enjoyment, presents for your listening enjoyment John Lund as
Johnny Dollar.
Jeff Connors, Johnny.
Oh, hi, Jeff. I haven't heard from
What
you.
What are the chances of you making it down here to Dallas real fast like, huh?
Well, I never knew you to be in a hurry, Jeff.
It's a firebug, Johnny. 4 fires in 4 weeks. Total claims to date, 95,000. This keeps up, I ain't got no job left. You just got to get out here tonight.
You're kind of rushing things, aren't you?
Well, it ain't me, Johnny O. It's the firebug. Thought you'd like to be here when number 5 goes up. That means you got to be in on the 10 o'clock flight.
Don't tell me he works on schedule.
Every Tuesday night at 11 o'clock. Whoosh. What do you say, pal?
I'll be there.
the makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum bring you John Lund in another adventure of the man with the action-packed expense account, America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Friends, the makers of Wrigley's Spearmint Gum present these weekly adventures of Johnny Dollar because they know that millions of you enjoy Johnny Dollar. That's true of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum, too. It's enjoyed by millions, day in and day out. People find that chewing on a smooth, delicious piece of Wrigley's Spearmint Gum somehow makes time pass more pleasantly. Whether you're working, driving, shopping, or just taking things easy, that good, tasty chewing gives you enjoyment and satisfaction. So always keep a package of Wrigley's Spearmint Chewing Gum handy. And whenever you want a refreshing, delicious treat, chew a stick. You'll like it. You really will.
Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Home Office, Eastern Indemnity and Fire Company, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an accounting of expenditures during my investigation of the Punctilious Firebug matter. Expense account item 1, $113.20. Airfare between Hartford and Dallas, Texas. Your Southwestern States manager, Jeff Connors, met the 10 o'clock flight at Love Airport and drove me down to your offices on South Acard Street.
Here they are, Johnny. Number 1, candy store out northwest. Number 2, 2-family residence on the east side. 3, small factory out on Commerce Avenue. And 4, garage and repair shop out southwest. Grand total of claims is $95,000, and it's all yours.
These all follow the same time pattern.
Every one. Comes Tuesday night around 11 o'clock, and that firebug just naturally lights up.
All new policies, Jeff. Written within the past 6 weeks to 2 months.
That's right. Ink hardly gets cold on the premium checks when it gets all hotted up again on the claims.
Any connection between the policy holders?
I can't find one if there is. All in different businesses, different parts of the city. Whole thing just don't make sense.
It does if the bug is in your own organization.
Yeah, that's what Len Borchardt says.
Who's Borchard?
Detective Lieutenant, Arson Division. He's been working on it.
Well, how's he making out?
Well, I got 10 men out in the field, 2 gals in the office here, lots of alibis to check out. Takes time. So far, there's no reason to suspect anybody.
Those fires are reason enough.
But, man, why'd anybody want to do anything like that?
Well, when it comes to firebugs, who knows? Could have a grudge against you or the county.
Or maybe just like to see them flames shoot up, huh?
That's as good a reason as any.
Well, whatever it is, we sure got to get this boy, Johnny. If this kind of thing keeps up, I'll be losing my job, my home, my wife, and everything else What's the time, Johnny?
It's 4 minutes after 11.
Wouldn't want to lay a little bet while this phone's ringing at this time of night, would you? Eastern Indemnity, Connors. Yeah, that figured. Wait till I get that address. That's, wait a minute. That's 725 East Westchester. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, thanks, Lieutenant. Be seeing you.
Number 5?
Yep. Big apartment building out in Westchester.
You're sure it's one of yours?
Wrote the policy on it myself 4 days ago.
Well, let's get out there and have a look, huh?
That's sure a goner.
Yeah, there's another one you can write off.
You can say... Oh, there's Len Borchard over there. Didn't know he'd be down here so quick.
Well, let's hear what he's got